Baroness Benjamin, with some of her thoughts on this. But she's concerned about the pressures of modern childhood and the impact the online world in particular will have on young people's lives long term. And for her programme, we've been hearing already about the state of children's television and content. She did want us to talk to someone who's been looking at the online world and has an idea very much about content too, but perhaps not always on the kids' side of things, but across the board. Baroness Kidron, crossbench peer and founder and chair of 5Rights Foundation. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to start by asking, because you and I have spoken many times now before, and we've heard your voice about how to try and regulate the online space, but are we doing enough if we manage to get children away from those spaces or safely onto other things, are we doing enough to create other spaces for children and other activities?
No, I think that's a really good question, and I've been listening to the contributions this morning, and I think a theme is sort of emerging where you say, actually, it's not enough to think of childhood as a space where we all have to protect kids from harm, but what is it that will give them a sense of well-being? What is it that will help them with their development? What is it that will make them understand the world that they will be adults in? And I think that the bit that we keep on missing, particularly in public policy, is the sort of how do we create space for childhood development, to walk, to talk, to play, to meet people on an equal basis. And I think that is the bit that's missing. And very often, I mean, one of the things that is consuming me at the moment is the age at which children are online. And we are seeing huge amount of time being spent by 1- and 2-year-olds on TikTok, on YouTube. And there is no way in which that is a healthy place or space for children of that age. Not just because of the content may indeed be fine, but because it is addictive, consuming, and it stops them looking at the world and interacting with the world, and indeed walking and talking and developing language. And if you have...
Well, I was going to say, it's just striking we're talking a day after a public vote for the Oxford Word of the Year, which is brain rot. And it's capturing concerns about the impact of consuming excessive amounts of low-quality content online.
Yes, I know. I thought that was fascinating. That was the word of the year, because as you know, I work with a lot of children of different ages to understand their experience of their online life, in fact, of their life more broadly. And I commissioned some work on brain rot in about April. The children are canaries in the coal mine. They know what's happening almost before the Oxford English Dictionary comes to sort of categorize it. And I heard them say brain rot, brain rot, brain rot. And I think here we have an adult culture and a political culture that is necessarily talking about preventing harm, but they're not doing enough to look at addiction and to look at other opportunities, and also to keep commercial companies and saying, hang on a minute, you know, you are not allowed to make addictive products for kids of this age. That's not okay.
How quickly do you think we might be able to get it right?
I think we could get it right, but it does take a bit of political will. I mean, I will be listening when Lisa Nandy talks about writing to the tech companies. I mean, I've had more than a decade of dealing with the tech companies, and I think writing to deal with prominence is not the issue. You have programs like Cocomelon, which is, I think, the second biggest viewed program on, call it a program, content on YouTube. And that is developed with people watching how to keep children's eyes on the screen. It's developed to see how many hours they can keep children on the screen. And she's writing a letter. I think we need to be a little bit bolder and a little bit more robust. And I do think from a sort of policy perspective, you're not going to get the 3/4 of children school ready that Labour has announced, or indeed for the older kids, you're not going to get, the violence against women and girls down unless you take robust action.
Because, I mean, we could say a lot more at this point, and I wish I had more time to keep going. But you'll be back again, I'm sure, to go into more detail. But some of what you're alluding to there is what roads you start to travel down and what content leads to content, whether you're a boy or a girl, and seeing things before you should, or seeing them at all. Baroness Kidron, that interview you mentioned with the Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy is coming up just after 8 o'clock. But thank you for that. The crossbench peer and founder and chair of the 5Rights Foundation.